All right, in this video, we're going to cover the 5 patterns you need to know after your basics for West Coast swing to be dangerous on the social dance floor. So first, Megan, we have to define which patterns we assume that they know. Which are they?
Oh, probably the sugar push, the left and right side pass, the sugar tuck, the passing tuck, the inside turn, and the whip.
All right, so we're going to assume that you know, because if you don't know these, you'll want to watch this video. But we have the sugar push or push break. That's one of our basic patterns. We're going to have our left side pass. That's another one of our basic patterns. We need to know the right side pass. So these are all ones that we assume you know. The sugar tuck. Then we have the passing tuck. So these are all the ones that we teach in our beginner class. Then we have the inside turn. And then finally, the whip is the final beginner pattern. So if you do not know those moves, you'll want to watch this video up in the corner. But provided you do, these are the 5 patterns that you're going to need to know to be dangerous on the dance floor. So the first one, and we'll break these down little by little, but let's show them to you all at once. So we have an outside turn. So that outside turn for the follower is going to get you to a lot of different things. Then we're going to need to know a whip, but there's 2 branches to the whip. There's an inside turn to your whip. That's going to be another pattern you need to know. Then there's going to be an outside pattern. So I said 5 patterns, but you're really going to get a lot more than that. Then from there, you're going to need to know a reverse whip. That's a whip that goes another direction. That's going to be very useful to know. The reverse whip will also have inside and outside turns. You're going to need to know a basket whip. This is something that's not super common in the old school way that we just did it right there, but you're going to see it in other patterns. Then we're going to have a same side whip where the leader stays on the same side. And then finally, we have a rock and go. That's going to be a bonus. So let's go through these. Let's start with the outside turn, because these are skills and patterns that you'll want to know. So this is the outside turn. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And for the leader, if I go back to this side, it's basically right side pass footwork for the leader. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. But the follower has different footwork.
Follower, we are going to go kind of like a whip, so we're going to go forward, back. But now we're going to start to turn. We step down line, we turn, down line, and then triple around.
Can you do that with counts for us, please?
I can. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6.
And to lead that, what we just need to do is a lot like a whip, where I want to lead her kind of forward on that right foot with a slightly diagonal lead. I'm doing it a little bit bigger so you can see it on the camera. But I do that to be able to turn her backwards. At this point, I'm going to put my fingers up. Megan goes fingers to the sky.
And
go
elbow down.
Elbow down. Over her head for 3 and 4. 3 and 4. There's a moment there as we turn around and anchor step. So that is our outside turn. You're going to see lots of cool moves. Things like this are based off of that move right there. It's just an outside turn for the follower, 6 counts. So the second thing you want to know is that there is a branch to your whip. There is an inside and outside turn. And on that moment, Miss Megan, is a good time to talk about our pattern tree chart. So the pattern tree chart is a free download. We'll have it up here. It shows you how all the patterns relate back to a push, pass, and a whip. But now we're on the branch of the tree that's a whip. And when we get to count 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the first non-basic pattern that I learned, was an inside turn for the follower. This bailed me out when I very first learned West Coast swing, because I thought, I'm so bored with my moves, but I learned the inside turn. It was easy to lead with everyone. So to do that, everything's the same to count 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. What happens on count 4 is I flip this hand so I can see my watch. I take her through for 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is a good time to report the good news for the leaders and the bad news for the followers. Good news for the leaders, my footwork is the same as a basic whip. For the followers, this is your footwork.
Ours is different. All right, so we're going into the whip until count 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are going to continue forward for 5. We're going to turn over our left shoulder for 6, and then anchor for 7 and 8. If we did that again, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, forward 5, turn 6, 7, and 8. So
that is the whip with an inside turn, because the hand initiates, this is our terminology, inside our heads first, right? If the hand initiates inside between our heads, that's an inside turn. If it initiates outside the head first, that's an outside turn. So if we have a whip with an inside turn, we must have a whip with an outside turn. So same thing, everything's the same till count 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This time, hand goes up. Instead of looking at my watch to go inside, I'm going to turn my fingers to the outside. Pro tip, where your fingers are pointing as the leader is typically where the follower is going to turn. So I put my hand up there on count 4. We turn our outside for 5, for 6, 7, and 8. So again, good news for the leaders. I'm going to do this from the other side so you can see it. Is my footwork is the same as a basic whip. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The hand goes up. 5, 6, 7, and 8. So Megan's going to cover the footwork of this, and I want you to pay attention to the fact that the turn isn't slow, because if you go too fast, it'll mess up your cool kid patterns later.
I think he meant the turn is slow.
The turn is slow. Pay attention to the fact that the turn is slow, yes.
All right, so let's get to 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Count 5 is going to be the same. We turn around for 5, but instead of going back for 6 like a normal whip, we're going to keep turning for 6, and then 7 and 8. So if we did that again, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, turn 5, turn 6, 7, and 8.
And if I led that, that is your whip with an outside turn. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I think about this logically. I have a whip, then I have a whip with an inside and outside turn. But if I have a regular whip, what else do I have to have?
Reverse whip.
A reverse whip, the opposite of the whip. So the reverse whip looks like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And to my best knowledge, it's called a reverse whip because the follower is turning the opposite way into the whip. So a regular whip, she turns in this way towards me. The reverse whip, she's going to turn away from me. And this is pretty tricky. Once you get it, it's worth knowing. So footwork for the leaders,
Guess what?
same basic whip. This is a good time to reference this because we talk about this a lot. When you take group classes as the leader, you want to be paying more attention once you're past your basics to what makes the lead, what makes her do her part. But from the follower's perspective, I think you should pay more attention to the actual footwork.
And to know that these things are possible.
That these things are possible, because you don't know who's going to lead them. That's my responsibility. But the better you know your footwork, the better my lead's going to get. So the reverse whip, we'll talk about leading it in a second, but let's talk about the footwork.
So followers, reverse whip. Like he said, the regular whip is going to turn towards your partner. This time we're going to turn away. So we have a forward, forward. Now we're going to turn to the left, turn together, and then step forward for count 4. From here on out, it's the same. We turn to the right for 5, walk back for 6, 7, and 8. So if we did that again, 1, 2, turning 3 and 4, turn 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Beautiful. So to lead this is a little bit tricky because we now have to maintain connection all the way to count 2 with a slight prep. So 1, 2, I'm shaping this lead this way. Megan's using her elbow to stay connected. Now I can pull the fingers to pull her around 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's the tricky part to get to 4. And you can do this with a bunch of different handholds, but this is the easiest one. 1, we prep her for 2. I'm starting to turn my hand up. I'm looking to catch her back as soon as possible. 3, and we step across for 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just because of the tricky hand change, I'm going to show you this on the other side before we go to the basket whip. So 1, there's my prep for 2. I'm getting this hand ready. 3, and. So now I have 2 hands on my partner. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Cool beans? That is the reverse whip. Then we have the basket whip, which I think this has fallen out of favor a little bit, at least.
I like it.
At least done this way, but there's some cool variations that you're going to see with some different handholds, but this is the basic one. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, good news for leaders. What is it?
Same footwork.
Same footwork. Worth knowing. He who takes, or he or she, who takes the most beginner classes wins. And I say he or she because in our competition, Derby City Swing, 30% of the divisions were won by female followers. Did you know that? Female leaders. Female leaders. 30% of the divisions were won by female leaders. So,
all right, so
footwork.
Followers, our footwork is rather easy. We go forward and we come back. All right, so starting with the right foot, we're going to go forward, forward, forward together, back, 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 triple step. All right, so this is going 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Beautiful. And this works best typically if I maybe did a sugar push first and kept both hands. Not that I have to do it that way, but that's the easiest way. Now I'm creating a basket kind of with this side of my right elbow. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we take her back for 5, release 6, 7, and 8. Do that from the other side so you can see both sides.
Followers, notice that my count 4 is not very big. I'm only going as far as my lead takes me.
We'll add that pro tip to the whip here in a second. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Here's a pro tip for your whips in general, and we cover this in detail in another video, but there's a stretch at this point in every whip, right? When we anchor step, you learn that beginner class, stay stretched away. There's a stretch on this side. 1, 2, 3, and. Feel that stretch? 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're trying to get that even as we do the reverse whip. 1, 2, 3, and. There's that stretch away. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And circling back to Megan's point on the basket whip, there's that stretch on the other side. 1, 2, 3, and. So that way it keeps her monitoring where to step back so that she doesn't step on my feet. Because this is a total beginner mistake. Big step back, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and collapse. I defended myself. 4,
5,
6,
6,
7, and 8. Get it?
Happens
Okay, so
all
that's
the
the basket whip. There's another fun one. This might not be the most vital, but the last one we're going to get to is going to be really cool. It's the same side whip. This one does have different footwork for the leaders.
Yay.
1, 2, 3, and 4 of 5, 6, 7, and 8. So footwork for the leaders. I'm going to do this on this side, Miss Megan, so I can see it well. Footwork for the leaders, I get out of the way for 1, 2, just like before. Then I have 3 and instead of stepping across in a normal whip, I step on the same side for count 4. I bring my feet underneath me for 5. I step in for 6. We anchor 7 and 8. So we do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it's worth covering the followers' footwork.
Followers, your footwork is actually going to be the same footwork as the whip with an inside turn. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We step forward for 5. We're going to turn to the left for 6, 7, and 8.
I like that. Same footwork as the inside turn. You're right.
Yeah.
Good call. So lead-wise, very simple. 1, 2, 3, and there's that delay. So now I'm telling her I'm going to stay on the same side for 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The only thing that's a little bit weird is there's a shortening of my right arm. I'm going to do this from the other side so you can kind of see. I'll exaggerate it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. But now I don't progress anymore, so my hands have to progress as I step underneath for 5, for 6, 7, and 8. So that is your same side whip. That's like pattern number 5 that you need to know.
This is 0.5 next.
0.5, yeah. So the next one is the rock and go. This is not really a pattern, but a concept that will.
Why it's a 0.5.
0.5, there you go. So a rock and go is this. If I did a sugar push, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and then I did an inside turn, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. That would be 12 counts to get there. But if I bypass the anchor step with a rock and go, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Rock and go. I jump right into the inside turn. So it's a way.
Counts.
It's 10 counts, right, instead of 12. So it's a way to bypass the anchor step, and this is very modern now. You see this a lot. You'll see it.
Fun.
You'll see it in whips. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. Rock and go. Triple step, anchor step. And to define that, if you do the rock and go right here for me, Megan, off of a sugar push. We're facing this way. Right here. We're going to go face this way. We're going to get to count 4 of a sugar push. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to anchor step and Megan's going to rock and go. 5 and 6. So you can see the difference. Instead of anchoring normally, she's jumped right to, stay put, Miss Megan. I'm going to scooch back. If I went walk, walk of the next pattern, we're on the same foot. We do the inside turn, triple step, anchor step, right? So if you want to watch a video on the rock and go where we describe it completely, you can get that up here. We're also going to leave you a download right here of our pattern tree chart so you can, It's a clickable, linkable document. It'll allow you to see how all the patterns that we do link right back to a push, pass, and whip and how they kind of integrate. Super cool tool. Download it for free. It's awesome. Miss Megan spent half of her adult life working on it several years ago to get it out for you. So, love you guys. We'll see you in the next video.